Hello friends! I've completed 4 more squares on the Tunisian blanket, and previously I said I was going to redo one of the squares that was really small, and I was telling my husband, this is my project and I think I can make my own rules, because I was in the middle of remaking the square and it continued to be really small. Even though I tried to make it larger, it kept shrinking down in size. And frankly, I didn't like the pattern and it wasn't enjoyable to stitch. So I made an executive call and decided not to redo that pattern. I'm going to redo the square because I need it for the blanket, but I went ahead and did it in a different pattern. So today I have 4 more squares. In terms of numbers of squares, it's not going to be exactly, it's not going to be on track because that square is going to be a repeat. So let's get into it. So I'm going to call this square number 25, and this pattern is a combination of the cross stitch and the purl stitch, and it was much easier to do that than the other one I was trying to recreate. It has quite a bit of thickness to it, but it's still flexible and it's not curling, so this was fun. Square number 26 is another pattern from that non-English speaking channel that doesn't give you names. It was pretty straightforward. Obviously something happened here with my stitches, not sure what, but it creates a pretty 3D stitch. It has some curling tendencies to it, and it has some thickness to the fabric. So that's going to be square number 26. I'm not really sure what to call this, but it was fun to watch the video and be able to figure out what they're doing. And it's a good challenge to your skills, or my skills. Square number 27 was interesting because they were teaching me one stitch and I did it and I said, well, that's kind of boring. And I went off and did my own thing, and I ended up, I guess, the original stitch was supposed to be the rib stitch, and rather than stacking the stitches up on top of each other, I staggered them, and I tend to like those kind of patterns where it's interwoven like this. So this was supposed to be rib stitch, but it's not. It's a modified rib stitch. Not really sure what to call it. And for 28, I did go ahead and went back and followed the pattern like I was supposed to, and this is rib stitch. And so it has a little bit of curling, not horrible. It's nowhere near as thick as the other ones. Even like comparing this, this one is thicker. 27 is thicker than 28. But it does make a very uniform. But you can see how staggering the stitch compared to stacking the stitch gives you a completely different look. But it's a pretty straightforward stitch. It's basically a simple stitch and then followed by 2 full stitches. And then when you're returning, you're joining the full stitches into 1 stitch. So you get the raised V pattern. Or here you can see the little V going up. So there we are. This is 4 squares. Getting closer and closer. Well, we're now past the halfway point. So I thought I'd show you what I meant by modifying the rib stitch. So I've worked up a couple rows with it as they teach it. So you have simple stitches, and then you have full stitches here that are stacked. Simple stitches, full stitches, simple, and it repeats. So when I alternated it. Get my thread back. Rather than stacking a simple on top of the simple, I'm going to do full stitches on either side. And then for these full stitches, I'm going to join them in together as a simple stitch. And then full stitches. Joining. Full stitches. And this continues throughout the row. And at the end we have a full and a full, and then our end stitch. And to return, it's always starting with one stitch for the edge, one stitch for the edge, and then here I have a single and 2 full stitches, so it's going to start with a 3. So 3, 2, 3, 2, and so forth. And ending on 2 for your edge. So to start again, come on. I have 2 full stitches, so I'm going to join that as a simple. And full stitch. Join. Full stitch. Join. And so forth. And this is going to end with joining and your edge stitch. Let's go down here. And one stitch to do your edge, and then here, come on, this is just a simple, so we're going to go ahead and close that as 2. There's 2 full stitches, 3, 2, 3, 2, all the way over. And if I ever lose track, I just look down at what's happening underneath to know if I'm on a 2 or a 3. This is going to end in 2. Come on. 2 and 2. So you should be able to see underneath the stitches are stacked, and on above they are not. They're alternating. So you can see this 2 is here, and then on above it there's 2 on either side. So 2, 2. Here's 2, and then there's 2. So that is what I did for my modified rib stitch. I don't even know if you can call it a rib stitch anymore because it's not ribbing. So as I was saying, I am past the halfway point on this blanket now, so that's a good feeling. It's kind of challenging when you're following patterns, they don't give you a name, but I will have the tutorials linked below if you're interested, if you like the results and you're interested in trying it for yourself. None of these were overly complicated, even the one where I was listening to the person and following through. Let me see if I can find my notes on that. So the tutorial where there's no English speaking, it's very straightforward. You basically have a simple stitch, then you do a yarn under, and then you do a purl stitch. And you just keep repeating that. When you get to the off of the foundation row onto your other rows, you're picking up more than one stitch. Like when you're doing your simple stitch, you're going to go through 2 stitches. I don't know the name for that, but it's straightforward. It's not complicated. It's just a matter of being able to watch them and remember. But that's the joy of having YouTube tutorials, is you can always go back, you can play it slowly, you can play it as many times as you want, you can take notes, and it all comes together. So I hope you enjoyed these 4 new squares, and I will continue working on this, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day. In the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe.